So there used to be a character named Tasha, and there used to be a character named Iggwilv, and then they were one character. I want to talk about it today on Greyhawk Grognard. So originally, the character, the NPC Tasha, was not the same as the character NPC Iggwilv, the Witch Queen. That combination happened along the way. And I want to kind of go through the history of this. Um, Tasha, as a name, goes back to the 70s in the game. I believe Tasha's Hideous Laughter, the spell, was first published in Dragon, and then, of course, made it into the player's handbook, and from there on, kind of became, became a standard AD&D item. And but we didn't know anything about Tasha. Tasha was just a name. And at the and what we also had was the Witch Queen Iggwilv, who was very much a part of the Greyhawk setting and debuted in the Lost Caverns of Solchkonth as the kind of driving force behind the caverns, right? The caverns were her lair, her headquarters. They gave an extensive background on how she conquered Perrin Land 100 years ago. And I actually did a video on how when she was overthrown, that stopped her son Ayuz from getting more powerful and his own expansion. There's a whole connection there. The timelines work out beautifully. But for Iggwilv as a character, we really only had this, the background in here, and then in Dragon Magazine, people started to use her. There was the series of articles called the Demonomicon of Iggwilv with some really cool spells and other lore and stuff like that. So she was becoming a little more developed, and she showed up in some of the Gary Gygax novels, the Gord the Rogue books, where she is seen with Zuktmoy and Ayuz, and they're squabbling, and she's like dominating over Ayuz, and he resents it, and all that kind of cool stuff. And the background of Iggwilv is that she was a very powerful spellcaster. She was very much into capturing otherworldly beings, and she had captured Grazit, the demon lord. And through a number of different ways, she sired a son, Ayuz, from Grast. And then Grast escaped confinement, and there was a huge fight and everything, and then she disappeared, and then she returned in Sea of Death. So that was pretty much it. We have this name for a spell, Tasha, and then we have this pretty well-developed historical character in the setting of Greyhawk, Iggwilv. And there was some connection too of Tasha with the character of Baba Yaga, of Baba Yaga's dancing hut fame. So we have these, and that was more in Dragon Magazine and so forth. So we have these kind of things, these two parallel tracks going. Hi everybody. Please help me keep Greyhawk alive by liking this video and subscribing. It really does help. You can also become a member of the channel or support me on Patreon and get early access to my videos, exclusive content, free or at-cost copies of my Greyheim Adventures modules, and more. Thanks, and now back to the show. And then, here comes Expedition to the Ruins of Greyhawk. And it was in this book that the canonical idea that Tasha was an alias of Iggwilv, and that Tasha was a member of the what is it, the Troop of Seven, the Company of Seven, which included a lot of very, very powerful and famous figures, such as Zagig, before he was a demigod, Heward, and various things that individuals that were later classified as hero deities and quasi deities were in this group, supposedly starting around 300 something common year in Greyhawk and lasting about 200 years before they all started turning into gods. So we have this idea that that she was kind of infiltrating this company of seven in order to get access to their secrets and so forth. And then she kind of went off on her own and conquered Perrinland. So it was in there. And then, of course, we have the Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, which came out in 2020. It was a 5 ebook, which has a whole bunch of new spells and classes and stuff like that, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with all that. But they have these kinds of liner notes that are supposedly penned by Tasha. And to my mind, they really take you out of the character as she's developed here, and which is understandable, because obviously this is a different continuity and a different IP and legalities. They have to keep separate and so forth. But she's very much presented in the Tasha's Cauldron of Everything as being kind of snarky and chatty, and she uses modern colloquialisms, and it really, to my mind, takes you out of this idea that she's this ancient 200-year-old witch queen who could conquer a part of the Flanaess and help her son conquer more of it and enslave demon lords. I just don't get the feel from those little snippets in that book that she's really that powerful ancient persona. But that's just a personal thing on my end. But that's really where this came from, right? We had Tasha is just a name, and then we have Iggwilv, who is this very well developed historical character in the setting, and is related to Iggwilv, and is the mother of Iggwilv and Drelsna, the vampire who's in the module and so forth. So we have a lot of background on her. And then in Expedition of the Ruins of Greyhawk, we have those two characters being merged into one, for better or worse, but that's where the idea came from. Now, personally, the more I think about it, the more I do research on it, I could see that. I could see it working, and it doesn't irk me nearly as much as something like the Elder Elemental God was Tharizdun all along. It's not, it doesn't rise to that level. So I kind of I can see the idea that she's clever and cunning enough that she's going to disguise herself and want to infiltrate this powerful group of spellcasters and other people. So okay, I can I'm warming to the idea. But anyway, just for everybody's edification, that's where this whole idea that Tasha and Iggwilv are the same. And then, of course, after Expedition of the Ruins of Greyhawk was published, that became official canon, and other publications kind of followed along with it. So anyway, there we go. Do check out my other video on Iggwilv and Iggwilv. It is, to my mind, a wonderful example of how deep the lore goes and the connections, and Gygax really knew what he was doing all along, and those connections were then picked up by other authors. I will try to figure out how to put a link to it at the end of the video. So anyway, hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will talk to you all later. Thanks for watching today's video. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Below you'll find links to my Patreon, which helps make these videos possible. You'll also find the web store where you can buy my books, and my blog where you'll find all sorts of free downloads and other articles. Thanks, and have a great day.